Things are not going as smooth as I was hoping. Boom! Another day in the shop. We got some stuff to do. I got a garage just full of things, so I need to like make some space here because I got a few other projects to bring in, some other things to work on, and well, you can see what I got going on here. All right, got some space to work. While we're still collecting parts on the world's smallest off-road wrecker, there's a few things I gotta pull to have for this wrecker. But when you have a fleet of vehicles, I gotta maintain them too. And one of them is due for a little bit of maintenance. That's right, I gotta work on this bad boy. If you guys are aware, it's getting pretty warm down here in Farmington, New Mexico. I have no idea what temperature this thing runs at because it has just a dummy light. I can't stand that. I'm kind of a gauge guy. I like being able to see gauges, see temperatures and see oil pressures and things. So I feel like I could prevent something, catching it in time. You know, once a dummy light comes on, that means you're already overheating. You're already at the top end of where you should be. Where it's like if I start seeing my rig getting warmer, I'll usually slow down or kick off my AC or maybe turn on my inner heater or something to help kind of prevent that. So I never get to that point where I'm like in danger or endangering the rig, I guess. Now with that being said, we know that these Jeeps specifically, the Cherokees and Comanches, don't have a good cooling system. Like it's just blatantly obvious. The radiator is, instead of being tall and deep, it's elongated and shallow, so it just does not catch the air. It does not cool it as well as a regular rig. But there is a few other reasons too, and let me show you. I'm gonna break this down really quick for the basics of an engine cooling system, because a lot of people think that your fans in here are actually blowing on the motor and cooling the motor, and that is not the case at all. If you look at like race cars, off-road racers, they have the motor completely encapsulated and their radiator's actually in the back, and they have fans on. That's the biggest thing, is getting airflow through your radiator that's cooling your engine. So this is the stuff that's cooling your engine. You want to have a thermostat because that stops the fluid and keeps it in the radiator long enough to let it get cool, and then it opens up and lets the cold fluid into your engine. With that being said, if you don't have good fan shrouds, meaning that you are not sucking that air through, then you're gonna run into a problem. You need to be able to suck this air through this radiator. So if your fan is open, like you put an electric fan on there and there's gaps, like you see how this one from the factory covers up the radiator, so it's actually sucking the air through this fan. That's what you want. So with that being said, it's forcing the hot fluid air into this engine bay and in turn gets it hotter. The reason that these Cherokees and Comanches have an extra problem with getting hot on top of a bad design of the radiator is this right here. The 4-liter for these models, they put the AC pump up here and they put the alternator way down there. When this AC pump's running, it gets really hot. So it's actually creating this whole heat dome in here as well. So it's actually gonna make it hotter. That's why you see on most new vehicles where the AC pump is down below on the engine bay and your alternator's up high. That's the reason why. It actually helps it run cooler. With that creating extra heat in here, that's especially in the summer, running the AC, it's going to create extra heat in this engine bay. I need to put some vents in here. Now there's multiple ways to do this. There's guys that just run like an air vent right here on the top, but you have to watch out to not cut through this because this is what keeps all your structure of your hood. If you cut through the hood support, then your hood's gonna be all wonky and wobbly. One of the other things I've seen people do is put spacers in here. I've done this myself, and you actually raise the hood. It looks a little goofy, but it allows the hot air to escape out of here. I'm gonna do something that I think will work, but it is a little bit different. And here's what it is. So I found this kit on eBay, and it looked like this, and I thought it looked really cool. I thought it was like it's custom molded vents, but actually they're just cut out pieces of metal that they bent up and made work. So if I'd have known that, I'd have probably just made them myself. But the cool thing about these though is they don't waste any space in your hood. See, they come up right here on the, obviously on the outside. You bolt them in there, and then the other one fits right there. And this one allows airflow to come in. This one's on the bottom side, and it allows airflow to come out. So it's gonna not only catch the air, but then it's gonna flow it out. So it's gonna let that movement of air keep this engine bay a little bit cooler, especially with it being literally almost right above this AC pump, which is a good thing. They sell it as a kit of 4, so you have them for both sides, which definitely isn't bad because, you know, I still have a hot power steering pump here and other things. So getting all the airflow through this as possible on top of the air that's coming off these fans, that's gonna now be able to air out and let that heat escape, should help prevent any overheating issues. Like I said, I have no idea what the temperature is because I have a dummy light. So I'm doing this as a preventative thing as opposed to like I have to thing. So I think the easiest way to do this is just to set this up and mark my holes. All right, we have arts and crafts going on here. The only thing I'm gonna have to watch out for, I'm gonna have to watch when I cut this that I don't accidentally cut through the cable or the bracket for the hood latch. So what I'm doing here, for any straight lines, I'm just going one hole, one hole, one hole, one hole, but then on this, I'm gonna give myself a little map so I know that I gotta come up at an angle and then over. That's it. It's a holy map. All right, we have our holy map. Just this old piece of wood here to kind of keep me from drilling into anything, and then I'm gonna really easily cut the top of this. Hopefully we did it right. Because that hood latch is right here, that hood latch and cable, I'm gonna cut this one first, and I'm gonna keep it really, really shallow while my hand isn't as tired as it will be by the time I get done with all this. How about that? I think we got ourselves some pretty solid vents for this hood. So, like I said, it's gonna pull air in and let air out, so it'll double down. I think that'll be our money. I'd like to welcome you all to my paint booth. It's actually been raining the last couple days, so right now the paint booth is prime. We got just enough wind that this thing might be dry in a decent time. Sure glad I'm wearing gloves because I'm painted myself plenty here. Got a little too windy. Neat. Oh, paint booth fail. That's a bummer. Now I get to fix that. Mark this in. Get this one started. This thing's set up for 1/4-inch bolts, so I just went like one click above a 1/4-inch bolt and then hit up my local Tractor Supply where I can buy bolts by the pound. And yeah, that was pretty much how I did that. I'll tell you, this is why I have piles of tape measures, because I always set them down, I forget where I set them, and then I'm just grabbing another one. Until I eventually just start finding all my tape measures. 1 7/8, 1/4. So now I have the conundrum. Do I match this body line or do I match this body line? I think I'm gonna match this one because I kind of like how it rides with it. Yeah. Get in here, hand. There we go. Yeah, I'll just measure this one to match that one. And then I gotta grab the other one that I went ahead and gave it a little bit of top coat because it was a little rough from where it hit the ground. We got all the bolts started. I had Shanna helping me. She was holding the hood up like this, made it a lot easier. Get the bolts on. She's hiding over here. I don't know why she's hiding. But now it's time to drill about 100 more holes. Literally, not figuratively. Cue the music. Managed to drill all those holes and only break one drill bit. That's a win. Oh yeah. Would you look at that? Just look at it. Looks way better. And it's functional. Air in, hot air out. We have a nice slope on the hood, so that should actually catch some airflow. Gonna be nice. Preventive maintenance. So when you own a plethora of vehicles, it's hard to keep track of oil changes. I know that I haven't changed the oil on this Comanche, and I've realized we need to do that too. Back to music. All right, I need to correct myself because I'm pretty sure I said literally. I was thinking about washers. I had to buy over 100 washers, but it's like 55 bolts to put the vents on. Everybody that watches this channel has probably done an oil change or knows how it works, but here's some things that I do that help me out. I will go ahead and write down what I'm using here for this. That way I'm never questioning what I need. Like I don't have to climb under the car, figure out what the drain plug is, and then figure it, and figure out how much oil I need. I just write it down, and then I know. Next time it's like, oh, I need a 9/16 wrench, I need 6 quarts oil. Makes life a lot easier. Another thing I do with anything that I'm going rock crawling in, this is kind of a rock crawler secret, is I'll run a quart of this in place of a normal quart of oil. And these, I had I had 2 of these that were like maybe a little under half full, and I just put them in. But the trick to this is this stuff will keep your oil pressure up when you're at weird angles. I don't know if you ever heard of a trapdoor oil pan, but they make those for like LS engines and some other vehicles, but sometimes you can't always find one or you can't make one. In this case, like I'm not gonna be rock crawling it hard all the time, but if I'm at an angle, this is gonna keep my oil pressure up while I'm doing that. Which is important to me because once again, I don't have an oil pressure gauge. I just got a dummy light. All right, next thing I gotta do is a little bit of work on this, not a whole lot. I wanna air up the tires because they're still way aired down. And I need to see if I got a bolt that I can put in that steering linkage. This is currently what keeps the steering together. If you guys remember, I used No Nonsense No How's old school drill bit and drill from Harbor Freight, like a cheap one.
Oh, you got it! You got it!
I can't believe I could drill through that shaft. And we were able to punch that hole. So I would assume with newer, nicer Harbor Freight stuff, we should be able to do this. Got it. Oh yeah, perfect. All right. One more thing, knocked off the list. And a few of you guessed this right, but this is a cherry tree. They're starting to grow. Things are not going as smooth as I was hoping. Well, Just ruined my garage door because the spring keeps coming down and they quit warrantying it. So that's fun. And now I just hit it. Yay. See how it just falls on its own? That sucks. Man, I got this thing in here. I don't know who I pissed off today that everything is just failing, but I need to get some rollers so we can get underneath it. So I'm gonna get these rollers. Should have got 2 more, but if you guys haven't heard of Pivotal Manufacturing, they make these really nice roller sets that can handle a lot of weight. Any garage door guys in the Farmington area have a lower panel that's like that knows how to make these springs stop failing, because they've came out here and tightened them like 5 times, and after about 3 days it just falls down again. So I think they're just barely tightening them instead of tightening them enough. I don't know. It was under warranty. It probably isn't now because, well, that. Anyway, on to this. Now, if you've watched any of my videos, you've probably seen this thing in the background. This thing used to be a rock crawler. It had links, it had suspension, it had Toyota axles, had 35s. It's obviously been rolled once or twice, but the real problem with it lies under the hood. Right about there. Yeah, that's a hole in the block. The opposite of Farmington, it gets extremely cold in South Dakota, and the aluminum block didn't like it. Now, the funny thing about this motor still runs. It sounds like death, but it does run. And it looks like animals have decided to make life in here, but that's okay. Ooh, I forgot about this. El Battery box. How about that for a win? What I need out of here is the transfer case and the transmission. And that's where it goes. Need a bigger lift. Suspension links. If you've never seen anything like this before, this is a doubler. This is the stock Sidekick transfer case. It attached to a Samurai T-case, and then the Samurai T-case is what fed the drive shafts. Now in this case, we are gonna pull this out because I need the front part, but we also need the good transmission. Hopefully no animals come down and visit me. Oh, mosquitoes everywhere. Skeeterville, Skeeterville. Look at all the skeeters kill. Spiders.
Oh, where?
Why are you fighting me? Yay for things. Alright.
It's coming.
Here it goes.
Oh.
Got it. Alright, can't roll on that. See how quick I am here. Don't know if I'm gonna be that quick, but I'm gonna try. Okay, we're gonna try to do a quick switcheroo with the transmission lines. If I can push this one back on the cooler, this one back on the transmission. Maybe we won't make too big of a mess, but we'll find out real quick. Build yourself some tube fenders, then you don't have to use the frame. There is a vacuum line that goes to these little transmissions. They're almost exactly like a Turbo 350, just a little bit smaller. They're actually called a TH180 instead of a TH350. Still 3-speed auto, just miniature. Aluminum engine block, anybody? Finding the rest of the engine block, pulling off the inspection plate. Pieces.
Oh, goodness.
Pieces of aluminum. Right now that I got the starter out of the way, I can unplug the wires here to the transmission. Because they're like they sit right above the starter. Oh, well, I got the dipstick. Oh, a little more than I needed. We need the pan. Well, that was a bloody mess. Guess we just need to pull this pan so I can get all this general neutral fluid out. Turn off the fan, please. Turn off the fan, please. Turn off the fan, please. Well, there went two. Well, that didn't work out like I wanted it to. The bolt that was holding wasn't holding. Neat. Good job, Colt. Way to make a mess. I made a mess. There it is. And a bunch of metal from the last thing I was digging up in there. That's not from the transmission. The bolt is, but not all that metal. And just to prove it, there's the magnet. Fortunately, I just made a boo-boo. But I got good shop help. Better than transmission fluid. Transmission fluid gear oil mix. I think this is the last bolt. Cool. Almost forgot the kickdown cable. Almost. One of the things I do have to say about these is whoever engineers transmission dipsticks, like, they gotta have mad skills because they gotta fit in such a weird place, and when you pull them in and out, you gotta do like this little twisty twist, and sometimes you gotta do some Tetris moves, but you always can get them in and out, but like, it's just all these tiny little bends in here. Pretty solid. Anyway, we got it out. All right, so I wanted to set this thing on jack stands because I need to get underneath it and get it high enough that I can get my transmission jack under here to help us get it down. So I think we're gonna pick it up by the rock sliders now. It's gonna be a minute. Moment of truth. Did I get everything? I don't know. Oh, man, come on. Kind of moving. A little more coaxing, I think. All right, so I just had to get the transmission kickdown cable bracket was hitting the firewall. I think that's it. All right, got it. Whew. Medium sketchy. Not full sketchy, but definitely medium sketchy. Downside to a transmission jack, they sit pretty tall. Plus side to Suzuki parts, they're not too awful heavy. So I just looked in here closer. Piston 4 totally left the chat. Pieces are gone. The entire connecting rod is broke off into just like tiniest little bit. And now that we have this out, there's more pieces of motor. So that's fun. But transmission's good, and what makes these motors tough, like this is the 1.6 16 valve, is, like I said, it still ran. So on 3 cylinders with a broken rod and a hole in the block, I was able to still start it, which is kind of crazy. But it is extremely late at this point. This took a lot longer than I was hoping it would, but with all the other things, and I'm kind of ready to start fresh on a new day, because between it falling off, hitting my garage door, I think it's time to start a new day. I don't know what you guys think. It's dark out. Crickets are talking out there. They can talk out there. They can't be talking in here. See you in the morning. New day. Still got plenty of metal sitting in here from the motor. Broken motor pieces. A little bit of oil. Need to pull that apart. 2 reasons that I will tell you very shortly. But the other thing we need to get is this. Obviously, this is our shift linkage. And I'd really like to have this torque converter. Ooh, look at that. More block. Block everywhere. Things never give you a good spot to access them. That's for sure. Hey look, more engine block. Shifters and things. All right, before I get any farther, my neighbor Albert called and asked if I could weld a toolbox on his trailer. So I'm open this up and we'll get him backed in here so I can do that real quick. It's a big trailer. Keep coming. That's good. This is my neighbor Albert. Say hi to the camera, Albert.
Hello, how you guys doing?
Now you can add to your resume, actor.
All right. I don't think that's going anywhere.
I don't think it's gonna go anywhere. I think you're pretty solid, and nobody's gonna steal that. That ain't going nowhere.
Yeah.
Quick morning side project. Need to get this back out of the garage, but I also want to work on a few of these things. And I got some things that showed up, so let's go get those real quick. What you doing? What are you doing? What are you doing? Ugh. Piles of parts. Right, Dougie? Right, silly dog? Oh yeah, huh? Say I need some pets. What I have here is a pile of transmission rebuild things, tools and pieces you need for rebuilding a transmission, supposedly. So I got the parts that I was supposed to get. I got a buddy that's gonna help me. And even though I know that that transmission is good, I just wanna go through it and put new parts in it and kind of guarantee that it's good. I mean, why not while you have it out, right? Look at that fancy tool there. I could have probably made that, but oh well. A rusted cone thingy with a dent in it and a plastic cone thingy. Interesting. He also told me to get a transmission mount, so I got 2 different styles. This one goes on like an engine stand. You can swivel it that way, and then this one you can just mount. I think I might just weld a plate on the bottom of it, and then I can put it in my vise. But 2 different ways to work on a transmission. So when he comes to help me do that, is that something you guys want to see? Because I did order the rebuild kit for this transmission. Like I said, even though I know it's good, I know it works. Is that something you guys want to see? You want to see us tear apart a transmission? Let me know down there, because it takes longer to do it on video because I want to make sure everybody knows what we're doing. Same time, the whole point of this channel is to share our life and then share knowledge too. Anything that I learn or know, I want to be able to pass on to anybody out there. You guys want to see something funny? Remember how I was saying this thing is a TH180, just a downsized turbo 350? GM Hydromatic. Small size. should be all the bolts. Oh, as I say that, I have one right there in my face. Now I should have all the bolts. What is going on? There we go. Finally. There it is. All right. So with that other transfer case I took off the transmission, it's already been shaved off here, which means I can adapt another transfer case that's a divorce style transfer case to this transfer case, or to that one specifically, which allows me to be able to run dual low ranges. So it'll times it by whatever your case is in the front, and then it'll compound it to the rear case, giving you extra low range, which they might need if they're hauling something kind of heavy. Now in this case, I have another option because I don't know if I want to put the fate of towing vehicles under one of these T cases. I'm pretty sure it'd probably be okay, but I haven't decided if that's the route I want to go or if I want to go this route. And this route is going to require me to remove this, and I'll show you why. Losing ball bearings. Need this piece here. Well, I can't get that in there. Have to pull the seal first, I guess. All right. Then I got a metal sliver in my thumb. I can feel it. There we go. There we go. There we go. All right. Now there is a man in the South that does a lot of machine work for rock bouncers. And this fancy little piece right here, he'll actually take it, he'll cut it off, and he'll machine a 23 spline output on this part. He also makes an adapter to this. Ooh, I got stuff on my face. Did I get it? I think I got it. That will go to a round 6 pattern that'll bolt up to like an Atlas or a Dana 300 or anything like that. Basically anything that's 23 spline round 6. So even a Jeep 231, if that's what you're looking for. I'm not looking for that. I want something strong enough to go in our rig. Now, while I think the 231 is probably plenty strong, it is also a driver drop, and I want a passenger drop. So he does everything else. All you got to do is just send him this part. So I'm going to send that off either way and have him make me an adapter. But do we want to use the Sidekick transfer case adapted to a divorce transfer case, or do we want to use Keith's adapter to maybe a single case where it's like a 4-to-1 Dana 300 or a 5-to-1 Atlas, something like that? I kind of need to know what you guys think, and then hopefully somewhere in the comments you let me know. The nice thing about both of those situations is I can get it adapted to the 6, or I can actually get it where they're divorced so that I can actually go flange to flange on that and then still have the dual cases off of that low range. The only real downside to this is most low range boxes are only about that big. And this is obviously double that. Granted, we are stretching the rear back, but we're gonna stretch the front forward, so we don't really have a drive shaft issue. But if you had like a short wheelbase like this, where your rear drive shaft gets really short, unless you stretch the rear back like this was. The nice thing about this case is I can pull that input out. Still got the metal sliver in my thumb somewhere. And then put it back together, because I'm gonna probably need that plate for using that doubler kit, but at least I'll have all this thing completely back together going forward. What's kind of funny about all this is that is actually a 23 spline. So this is technically like a 23 spline input, but it's a smaller diameter than your standard 23 spline like in a Jeep or something. So I can't remember if he cuts that off and then welds a 23 spline on. I think that's what he does, is he sets it in there, welds it in, and then I don't know how if he heat treats it or what, but I remember it looked really nice, and it was obviously very true, but it's a pretty nice adapter for us Suzuki folk. Now off camera, I'm probably gonna go ahead and have to get another one because he usually doesn't like to do just one off when he sets up all his tooling for it. He wants to do 2 or 3 at a time. So I'm gonna make a shout out to some of the Suzuki people, see if they wanna get in on it. Obviously, the more he makes, the happier he is, and hopefully the cheaper we can get it in bulk. Oh yeah. I don't know if I've ever shown this, but the way this forklift works, you got your gas and brake on your right foot, like normal, but then your left foot, that's your forward and reverse. So you have to give it enough gas to like have enough power to go forward. So it's like almost like a clutch, but not. And then all your control is with your left foot. It's a little different. I mean, it's just old school technology. My little hokey fork extenders worked. So that was what I had. Time to clean up the shop and we can get that thing back in here. Got tools put away, shop's cleaned up, sidekick is gone. Still gotta clean that up. And I need to go buy some more floor dry, AKA kitty litter. What do you guys say, Sully? What do you guys say? Huh? Come on. Oh yes. Oh yes. Sully says it's hot too. I think we gotta go play. That was a fun game of ball.
Hey, Colt!
Yeah.
How do you make a tissue dance?
Giving it a few boogies.
Put a little boogie in it.
Just gotta do a little boogie. All right, guys, we did a lot of maintenance, got a lot of things prepped. I need to know, like I said, what do you think we should do? Should we use the sidekick case with another case? Should we use the Keith Rice doubler, an aftermarket case? I don't know. What I do know is this video is done, so we appreciate you watching. We will see you next time.
Bye, everybody. Make sure that you subscribed. We're still trying to get to 100,000. We're almost there.
Thank you. Sully! Is there a squirrel? Where's the squirrel? Where's the squirrel? Is that Yaya? Is that Shanna? Where's the squirrel? Where's the squirrel?
He's like, I don't know. Where is it? Tell me and I'll get it.